Items needed for this lesson varies based on the materials you have and what you like. I will show you what I used in this video. This lesson is about making a milk jug face planter. You're going to need a milk jug or a gallon milk container. You're going to want to make sure it's cleaned out and that you've removed any of the labels off of the bottle. Then you're going to need to decide if you want your planter to face up or down. I'm going to choose to have mine facing up, which means I'm going to need to cut the hole that my plants will go inside here at the top. What I've done to cut this hole is I can use a sharp object like this letter opener. I could even use a pair of scissors or an X-Acto knife. I can use these items to stab a hole into the top, and then I can use the scissors to cut it off. So here I'm going to use the letter opener to go ahead and poke a hole into the top of my container, and then I'm going to go in with my scissors and I'm going to finish cutting off the entire top of the container. And once the top is off, you need to then think about the bottom of the container, because if you're putting a plant in it, your plant is going to need space for the water to drain out. Such as planters like this that your plants come in from the store, they already have holes built into the bottom. So we're going to poke holes into the bottom of our milk jug so we can have drainage for our plants. That way our plants don't get root rot because they have too much water sitting in the container. I'm going to use that letter opener to just poke holes all across the bottom, and I've taken that letter opener, twisted it, and it's made holes for drainage at the bottom of my container. Once I have all of the holes at the bottom of the container, I'm then going to go to the top and I'm going to use a hole punch to punch 4 holes in the top of the container. You can also use one of those sharp objects to punch these holes as well. I'm punching these 4 holes in my container because these holes are going to be where I string up the strings, so my planter is a hanging planter. If you do not want your planter to hang, you do not have to punch these holes. Next, you're going to choose what color you want to paint the jug for your planter, and you're going to be doing 2 layers of paint, allowing the paint to dry between each layer. So once I do my first layer, I'm going to let it dry, and then I can paint my second layer. Once the paint has dried, you are then going to use a pencil to sketch out a face on your jug and use your paint to paint it in. You can do any face that you would like. You could even try to do an animal face. Anything that you think would be a fun face for your planter, sketch it out and paint it on. And here is the final look of my painted face, and now you can have fun doing some more customization. You can add in any extra accessories or things you want to add on. I tried to focus on using my recyclable materials, such as my Starbucks lids. I poked a hole, ran a wire through them, and then I'm poking a hole in the side of my jug here so I can have dangly earrings. And all I did to secure it in place was just twist that wire on the inside so I could shake it and the earrings would not fall off. Next, I took 4 pieces of twine. You can use any string for this. I just cut them to be about the same length, and I double knotted those pieces onto those 4 holes that I had hole punched onto the top. Remember, this is how my planter is going to hang. I then took some of the extra wire that I had, I looped it around my fingers a couple of times, and I secured it together to make a loop. This is going to be what I hang my planter from at the very top. So I ran the twine through it, and I made sure that it was double knotted on there so it would not slip and slide off of the twine, made sure it was extra secured. If you do not want to do the wire loop, you can also just create a loop with your twine. You can choose to cut the extra twine off. What I did was I wrapped a little bit of it around the top just to give it an extra little bit of support. So I wrapped it around the base a couple of times, and then once I got to the point that I was happy with it being wrapped, I stopped there, used a little bit extra of my wire, wrapped it around that one part that's showing me my stopping point. Then I cut the extra twine off. And then I use that piece of wire to twist around to secure those pieces of twine in place and secure my loop at the top. I then hung up my planter and I gave it a few tugs to make sure that all the strings were tight before I started adding in the plants. Once that was secure, I then had fun using different plants to try out different hairstyles on my planter. You can use real plants, you can use fake plants. Remember, if you are using real plants, you do need to have those holes punched at the bottom, so when you water it, the water will be able to drain out the bottom. Remember, it is important to reduce, reuse, and recycle in order to keep our Earth happy and healthy. You can reduce the number of plastics in landfills by limiting the amount of plastic items that you buy. You can reuse plastic items to create art or even use them as different storage containers, and you can always recycle your plastics to give them a new life. Look for the number inside the recycle symbol, typically at the bottom of your plastic item, and check with your local recycling center to make sure that item can be recycled.